Before swords tasted blood, they tasted fire. Before warriors ruled lands, they ruled breath. In ancient silence, the forge taught a law. Iron obeys the hammer, and the mind obeys discipline. You stand here not to be entertained, but to be tempered, to learn the samurai rule, to conquer your mind and dominate your inner self. Feel the heat rise as doubt melts. Hear the anvil ring as habits shatter. And know that spirit is not born soft. By Bushido and Hagane no Ishi, steel-willed resolve, we choose the path where pain instructs and restraint crowns kings. I speak to you now, warrior, because mastery begins when you decide to stay in the fire longer than fear. Commit to this journey, comment, steal, subscribe, and stand with us as a community forging courage together. Thank you for honoring the work and walking the road. Discipline, stillness, endurance, honor. Let the blade cool in purpose as we begin the work ahead, sharpened by trials, unbent by storms, awake to impermanence, and ready to command the battlefield within. Mental discipline is the quiet force that decides whether a man commands his life or is commanded by it. In the way of the samurai, the mind is not a place for chaos, excuses, or unchecked emotion. It is a weapon that must be sharpened daily. A disciplined mind does not wait for motivation, because motivation is fleeting like morning mist. It acts from principle, from ritual, from an unshakable inner order. Every thought allowed to remain becomes a habit, and every habit shapes destiny. When you train your mind to obey, distractions lose their power. Fear still appears, doubt still whispers, but neither is given authority. Mental discipline begins with awareness, noticing your impulses without surrendering to them, recognizing weakness without identifying with it. This is the first victory, separating who you are from what you feel. The samurai did not eliminate fear. He mastered it. He stood still while his heartbeat thundered, because discipline taught him that emotions are signals, not commands, and only the trained mind decides the next move. To build mental discipline, repetition becomes your forge and discomfort your teacher. The mind resists structure at first, just as raw iron resists the hammer, but each strike brings it closer to form. Waking early when comfort begs you to stay still, finishing tasks when boredom screams for escape, maintaining focus when chaos invites distraction. These are not small acts. They are daily battles that condition obedience within. Mental discipline grows when you choose the hard right over the easy wrong, again and again, until resistance weakens. The samurai trained not only on the battlefield but in silence, posture, breath, and patience. He understood that mastery in combat was useless without mastery in thought. Your environment will test you constantly, flooding your attention with noise and temptation. Discipline is the ability to hold your inner line while the world pulls at you. Each time you do, your mind becomes quieter, stronger, and more precise, capable of sustained effort without complaint. Mental discipline also means governing your inner dialogue with ruthless honesty. The voice in your head can either forge steel or spread rust. Undisciplined thought breeds self-pity, entitlement, and resentment, which drain energy and clarity. A disciplined mind does not indulge in these luxuries. It replaces complaint with responsibility and replaces fantasy with action. When failure arrives, discipline does not allow collapse. It demands correction. The samurai review defeat not to mourn it, but to extract wisdom from it. This same principle applies to you. Every setback is a lesson, every mistake a sharpening stone, if the mind is trained to learn instead of lash out. Mental discipline requires restraint, knowing when not to speak, when not to react, when to endure in silence. Power is not loud, it is controlled. The disciplined mind waits, observes, and chooses its moment with precision rather than impulse. As mental discipline deepens, identity begins to change. You no longer see yourself as someone who tries, but as someone who does. Promises to yourself become unbreakable contracts. This is where confidence is born, not from praise, but from self-respect earned through consistency. The samurai trusted his blade because he trusted his training. In the same way, you trust yourself when your actions align with your standards. Mental discipline strips away excuses and replaces them with accountability. It teaches you to stand firm in adversity and calm in pressure. When the mind is disciplined, chaos loses its grip, and clarity becomes your default state. You move with intention, speak with purpose, and act without hesitation. This is not a sudden transformation, but a gradual forging, strike by strike, choice by choice. A disciplined mind does not seek ease, it seeks mastery, and through mastery it claims freedom. Emotional mastery is the art of standing unmoved while storms rage within. In the samurai way, emotions are not enemies to be destroyed, but forces to be understood and commanded. An undisciplined man is ruled by anger, fear, and desire, reacting to life as it strikes him. A mastered man responds with intention. Emotional mastery begins with acceptance, recognizing that emotions will arise without permission, yet need not dictate behavior. Rage may flare, anxiety may tighten the chest, sorrow may weigh the spirit, but none of these sensations define the warrior. They are weather passing through the sky of the mind. The samurai learned to observe these inner tides without drowning in them, to feel deeply without acting blindly. This detachment does not create coldness, it creates clarity. When emotions are acknowledged but not obeyed, strength emerges. True control is not suppression, but composure. The ability to remain centered when provoked, calm when threatened, and steady when everything urges collapse. The forge of emotional mastery is restraint practiced under pressure. Every insult unanswered, every impulse delayed, every reaction paused, strengthens command over the inner self. The samurai trained for this not only in battle, but in daily life, understanding that small moments of control prepare the spirit for great trials. When you choose silence over retaliation, patience over frustration, or discipline over indulgence, you are teaching your emotions their place. Emotional mastery requires slowing the breath when anger accelerates it, grounding the body when fear seeks escape, and steadying the mind when desire demands gratification. This is not weakness, it is dominance. Most people exhaust themselves chasing emotional highs or fleeing emotional lows. The mastered warrior remains level, conserving energy for decisive action. Over time, emotional turbulence loses intensity because the mind no longer fuels it with resistance or obsession. Emotional mastery also demands accountability for what you feel without blaming the world for it. Others may provoke, circumstances may wound, but your response is always yours. The samurai understood this deeply. External chaos could not be controlled, but the inner realm could. When jealousy arises, mastery asks what insecurity it reveals. When anger ignites, mastery asks what boundary was crossed. When fear appears, mastery asks what attachment creates it. This internal inquiry transforms emotion into information rather than a sentence. Instead of being dragged by feeling, you extract insight from it. Emotional mastery eliminates victimhood and replaces it with ownership. You stop saying, "This made me feel," and begin saying, "I chose how to respond." In that shift, power returns to you. The emotions that once weakened you become tools that refine judgment and sharpen awareness. As emotional mastery deepens, your presence changes. You become difficult to manipulate, hard to provoke, and impossible to control through pressure. Calm becomes your signature, even in conflict. This composure commands respect without demanding it. The samurai's stillness before battle unsettled opponents more than rage ever could. In the same way, your emotional steadiness becomes a silent weapon. Relationships improve because reactions soften. Decisions improve because clarity replaces chaos. You no longer fear emotions because you trust yourself to handle them. This trust builds inner peace, not from comfort, but from capability. Emotional mastery is the confidence that no matter what arises within, you remain sovereign. You are not numb, not detached from life, but fully engaged without being enslaved. Through this mastery, the spirit becomes balanced. resilient and unshakably centered. Unbreakable focus is the discipline of placing the mind like a blade upon a single point and refusing to let it waver. In the samurai tradition, a scattered mind was more dangerous than a dull sword because hesitation invited defeat. Focus is not intensity alone, it is loyalty to the present task. When the mind fractures between past regrets and future anxieties, power leaks away. Unbreakable focus begins with deciding what matters now and eliminating everything that does not serve it. This is an act of respect for your time, your energy, and your purpose. The warrior does not multitask in combat. He commits fully to the moment before him. In the same way, focus is built by training yourself to stay where your body is, anchoring attention in action. Each time you resist distraction, you reclaim authority over your mind. Over time, attention becomes steadier, deeper, and sharper. The forge of focus is monotony endured with intention. Repetition without escape trains the mind to remain present even when stimulation fades. The samurai practiced the same strikes thousands of times, not for novelty, but for precision. Modern life weakens focus by rewarding constant novelty, yet mastery demands the opposite. Staying with a task after excitement dies. Unbreakable focus grows when you complete what you start, when you refuse to abandon effort at the first sign of discomfort. Fatigue, boredom, and frustration are not signs to stop, they are thresholds to pass. When you continue despite them, the mind learns endurance. Focus is strengthened by structure, clear goals, defined time blocks, and intentional rest. Without boundaries, attention scatters. With discipline, it gathers force. The more often you choose depth over distraction, the more natural focus becomes. Unbreakable focus also requires emotional neutrality toward outcomes. When the mind clings too tightly to results, anxiety fractures attention. The samurai focused on form, not fear of death, trusting that proper action would lead to proper outcome. This same principle applies to any pursuit. When you focus on process rather than pressure, clarity returns. You act with precision because the mind is not burdened by anticipation or regret. Distractions often arise from unresolved emotion, doubt seeking reassurance, fear seeking escape, ego seeking validation. By mastering these inner pulls, focus remains intact. You learn to let thoughts pass without chasing them, returning attention to the task at hand. This ability creates flow, where effort feels effortless and time loses its grip. In this state, performance sharpens and resistance fades. As unbreakable focus deepens, productivity transforms into presence. You no longer rush, yet you accomplish more. Each action carries weight because it is undiluted by distraction. The mind becomes calm, deliberate, and dangerous in its effectiveness. Like a samurai advancing without wasted movement, you conserve energy and strike only where necessary. This focus builds confidence because you trust your ability to stay with difficulty until resolution appears. Chaos no longer overwhelms you because your attention remains anchored. Others may scatter under pressure. You narrow your gaze. This is not rigidity, but control. The power to direct your mind at will. Unbreakable focus is the quiet advantage that compounds over time, turning ordinary effort into extraordinary results through unwavering attention and disciplined presence. Musashi endurance is the resolve to remain standing long after comfort, certainty, and applause have vanished. Miyamoto Musashi did not become legend through talent alone, but through a relentless willingness to endure isolation, hunger, repetition, and doubt without surrendering his path. Endurance, in this sense, is not passive suffering, it is active persistence. It is choosing to continue when the mind invents reasons to quit and the body seeks relief. This form of endurance begins with accepting that the road to mastery is long, lonely, and often unrewarded in the moment. The warrior who expects ease abandons the path early. Musashi endured because he understood impermanence, mujo, and refused to attach his spirit to immediate results. He trusted the process more than the outcome. In your life, endurance is the refusal to abandon your standards when progress feels slow. It is staying loyal to your discipline when no one is watching, knowing that unseen effort shapes unbreakable strength. The forge of Musashi endurance is solitude paired with repetition. Musashi often walked alone, trained alone, and reflected alone, sharpening not just technique but resolve. Endurance grows when you stop needing external validation to continue. The modern world weakens endurance by demanding constant stimulation and approval, yet the strongest spirits are forged in quiet persistence. When routines become dull, when progress feels invisible, endurance is what carries you forward. This means waking up and training even when motivation is absent, working when enthusiasm fades, and holding form when fatigue degrades precision. Musashi trained beyond exhaustion because he knew that the self revealed after fatigue is the true self. Endurance teaches the mind that discomfort is temporary, but quitting is permanent. Each time you endure without complaint, the threshold of pain shifts, and what once felt unbearable becomes ordinary. Musashi endurance also requires emotional detachment from hardship. He did not dramatize struggle. He accepted it as the price of mastery. This mindset transforms suffering into training rather than trauma. When adversity arrives, endurance asks not, "Why me?" but "How do I proceed?" Pain becomes instruction, failure becomes feedback, and delay becomes discipline. Emotional endurance is remaining calm in prolonged uncertainty, continuing to act without clarity or reassurance. Musashi faced battles where survival was uncertain, yet his mind remained centered on execution. In the same way, endurance today is the ability to stay focused when outcomes are unclear and timelines stretch. You learn to endure boredom, frustration, and doubt without letting them corrode purpose. This internal steadiness allows momentum to continue even when external conditions resist you. As Musashi endurance deepens, identity shifts from fragile ambition to quiet inevitability. You stop asking whether you can continue, because continuation becomes who you are. This is where resilience hardens into certainty, the body adapts, the mind settles, and effort becomes sustainable. Endurance builds a spirit that does not rush success, nor fear delay. You move forward steadily, unshaken by setbacks, unspoiled by ease. Others burn bright and fade, you persist. This endurance commands respect not through intensity, but through longevity. Like Musashi, you become someone who cannot be worn down, only refined. Time becomes an ally rather than an enemy, because you know that consistency outlasts talent and patience outlives resistance. Through endurance, the warrior spirit becomes timeless, steady, and impossible to break. Honor-driven action is the unwavering commitment to act not from fleeting desires or external rewards, but from an internal code that defines who you are. In the samurai tradition, honor was not a trophy to be displayed, but a living principle guiding every choice, every strike, every word spoken and unspoken. To act with honor is to align your deeds with your deepest values, even when no one watches and when shortcuts beckon. This discipline transforms ordinary effort into sacred ritual, making each moment an opportunity to prove loyalty to self and spirit. Honor-driven action means that success is measured not by applause or gain, but by the integrity of your path. The samurai lived, and often died, by this code, knowing that a single dishonorable act could shatter their legacy. For you, honor is the compass that keeps your mind sharp and your soul steady amid temptation and trial. The forge of honor, the drin action, is sacrifice paired with intention. Choosing honor often means foregoing immediate pleasure or advantage in favor of long-term virtue. It requires the courage to say no to ease, to comfort, and to expedience. The samurai accepted hardship and even death over betrayal of their principles. This radical fidelity creates strength beyond physical power. It builds a character that commands trust and respect. When you act from honor, your decisions become deliberate, your promises sacred, and your presence undeniable. Honor-driven action demands consistency, the daily practice of choosing what is right over what is convenient. It transforms routine tasks into acts of devotion, forging a life that reflects the warrior's way. Honor-driven action also means taking responsibility for your impact on others and the world. The samurai's code, Bushido, taught that strength without righteousness is tyranny. Every action echoes beyond the self, shaping communities and legacies. Acting with honor requires empathy and humility, recognizing that true power uplifts rather than diminishes. It demands honesty with others and yourself, rejecting deceit and manipulation. When faced with conflict, honor guides you to confront challenges directly, but with respect, balancing courage with compassion. This principle anchors decisions in a broader context, ensuring that your pursuit of mastery does not sacrifice humanity. As honor-driven action becomes your foundation, your identity transforms from reactive to intentional. You embody reliability, dignity, and fierce loyalty to your values. The samurai's spirit lives through you when you refuse to betray yourself for gain or fear. Others will notice the difference, not just in your words, but in your silent resolve. Honor-driven action creates an inner fortress against doubt and temptation, making your character unassailable. This is not perfection, but the relentless pursuit of integrity. It is the flame that lights the warrior's path, guiding every step with purpose and grace. Through honor, your actions become more than survival. They become a legacy. As we stand together at the edge of this journey, remember that mastery over the mind and inner self is not a destination, but a lifelong forge where spirit is hammered and tempered by choice and challenge. The samurai rule is more than strategy. It is a call to embody discipline, endurance, focus, and honor in every breath and every step. You are no longer a passive witness to your thoughts and emotions, but a warrior commanding them with clarity and strength. This path demands courage to face discomfort, patience to endure the unseen battles, and unwavering commitment to rise every time you fall. Know that you are part of a brotherhood and sisterhood of warriors, all forging themselves in the fire of self-mastery, bound by the same resolve to conquer their inner worlds. Carry this spirit forward, not as a fleeting flame, but as a steady blaze that illuminates your life and inspires those who follow. Embrace the struggle, honor the process, and wield your mind like the sharpest blade. The road is long, but the warrior's heart is eternal. Stand firm, strike true, and become the master of your own destiny. Now, go forth with courage. Your inner battle has only just begun.